Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back. We're going to begin reading letter 3 in Jesus Christ, the Christ letters, the truth. And to give you an idea of the contents of letter 3, I have a little bit of a summary, which I did read in my intro, but I don't expect you to remember. So he's going to continue talking about his life incidents and his teachings, along with his awareness that his time on earth was to be cut short by crucifixion, the things he did to arouse the anger of the Jewish religious leaders, what really took place and what was said at the Last Supper, the disciples' attitudes, and the truth concerning his ascension. So let's go ahead and get started. This starts out with a bit of a request from Jesus at the top here. Since these letters take you into a spiritual mental dimension transcending the human plane of activities and concerns, they will be best absorbed if preceded by a time of stillness and relaxation. Quiet your minds, if possible, going into a state of inner silence of thought. It is only when you are in this completely receptive state that these letters will penetrate your human thoughts with their reality. My boundless celestial love impels me to return again and again to write to mankind, with the intention that finally, as many of you who are ready to receive it, will possess the knowledge which will enable you to transcend your humanhood and merge into Father consciousness, the true love consciousness in which are realized all things bountiful and beautiful. As I have said previously and want to repeat, my entire mission on earth was prompted by love and was directed only at teaching the truth of existence. For without this knowledge, there is no hope of redemption from the travail which mankind is born to endure. I know this statement will bring much grief to sincere and dedicated followers of the Christian religion, and those who have centered their entire faith on the person of Jesus. But I tell you truly, to succeed in ridding yourselves of the humanhood which holds you back from the full realization of universal truth and the understanding of the true nature of the spiritual human condition I termed the kingdom of God, you must turn away from the old dogmas of salvation by the blood of the Lamb, the Trinity, and other beliefs, and come with perfectly open, receptive minds to the truth of existence. No other salvation is possible. God cannot save you, since in ignorance of the facts of existence, mankind will continue to make the same earthbound mistakes till the end of time, thus creating his own sickness and misery. Furthermore, no matter what a man's belief may be in regard to salvation from sins, this is a human fallacy, since the law of cause and effect is imponderable and intrinsic, inherent, natural characteristic of existence. You cannot divorce effects from causation, nor can you erase causation and still have effects. In every level of being, this is truth. You may now be sufficiently advanced in your thinking to be able to receive the following fundamental truth concerning your earthly existence. The law of cause and effect, reaping and sowing, is the visible effect of what you call electromagnetism. And no one who has any knowledge of science would expect God to set aside the laws of electromagnetism, which are those of activity-bonding-rejection. Activity, bonding, rejection, or movement, attraction, repulsion are the fundamental impulses of existence and of human consciousness itself, which have brought about your visible forms in life, and are the only instruments or tools of creation. They are responsible for the formation of substance or matter, and also for the development of individualized forms, and finally of personality itself in all living entities. Since these laws are fundamental to your individualized existence, it is impossible to set them aside. Therefore, you cannot ignore the problems inherent in your individualized existence and believe that God will save you from them. Your only hope of final escape, of stepping off the treadmill of human experience, is to recognize and acknowledge them, and then work minute by minute to transcend them and eventually merge in purity of mind, heart, and action, and become one with the universal love consciousness, the Father, which does the love work. At the same time, as you grow in awareness of the true nature of the Father within you and transcending you and all around you, you will come to have undeviating faith that in every circumstance, you can draw upon the inspiration, power, and upliftment directly from the Father within and around you. You will come to know it is really the Father which supports and guides you into the kingdom of Father love consciousness. It will become abundantly clear to you that whilst the Father is universal, it is also individual for you. It knows you, is aware of your thinking and your problems. Within the Father love consciousness are the perfect solutions awaiting your recognition. When you recognize them, you will be released from pain when you become pliable and willing to listen. Until you are willing to listen, you will never be filled with the Father love consciousness. I will tell you a parable. Imagine a child screaming and kicking because he wants ice cream. All the time he is making this noise, his father is waiting patiently at the door of his room to show him that he has brought him ice cream and fruit. You may think this parable improbable. Nonetheless, it is true. Mothers will remember times when children have been inconsolable over something, refusing to listen to what mother is trying so hard to tell them. And yet, mother has the solution waiting for them the moment they stop making a noise and dry their tears. I can see the travail of people and their crying and weeping, and my compassion is boundless. You are heard, but within the context of your present consciousness. There is little I can do for you. I cannot penetrate the thongs and chains of your years of ignorant thinking and acting. I see the pain perpetuated in the churches, in services and pulpits by ignorant sermons. I see nations and their people trying so hard to grapple with the difficulties arising from their traditional values, cultures, and religious beliefs. I see the limitations in their daily living, the lack of fulfillment of their needs and purposes, and the suffering emanating from relationships of every kind. The collective consciousness emanating from the world is a miasma of fears, resentment, angers, emotional turbulence of passionate desires, revenge and exhaustion, interthreaded with compassion, determination to uplift world consciousness, dedication to the search for unconditional love by those who have received inspiration and a degree of enlightenment. I come close to people who call on me and work with them to relieve their distress, but their mindset and beliefs are so strongly imprinted in their brains that my truth cannot reach through and bring new knowledge to their minds. Many people have heard, albeit briefly and imperfectly, but have lacked the courage to accept new ideas and speak out. Furthermore, the time has not been right to reach through barriers of human consciousness to teach you. At the bottom of every page in letter 3 is the same statement. In the light of Christ's spiritual truth, doctrines become meaningless and are swiftly jettisoned from the illuminated mind. But now the time is right. You have moved into a new dispensation of vibrational frequencies, which will enable you to more easily rise from the materiality of the previous age. This may sound a strange statement, but there is a universal store of knowledge regarding energies you do not begin to understand. At this time, there is no earthly mind capable of understanding. It is only possible for you to imagine the spectrum of energy, which is not truth. It will help you, therefore, if you can accept my statements, taking them on trust, because they are true. You are moving into new frequencies of vibration pertaining to human consciousness, which will enable you to move forward into the spiritual mental development I described in letter 1. Since I have diverged, I must now repeat. You can no more escape the most fundamental laws of existence regarding your thinking and feeling, sowing and reaping, than you can escape the laws of electromagnetism in your material world. For electromagnetism is the impulse producing the law of sowing and reaping, just as electromagnetism produces form within the fundamental field of energy particles. Therefore, it is not possible to continue to believe in Christian dogma and also try to follow these letters, because dogma relating to salvation by my death on the cross, the Trinity, physical resurrection from the dead, and use of incense and set forms of prayer are fallacious, and the facts now presented to you in these letters are truth. The dogma and the sacramental trimmings are what you would term red herrings, to gain your attention and allegiance, but obscuring the truth of my teachings. Therefore, these letters had to be written. The only way I could reach the world at this present time, when it is poised to enter a new mind-emotional dispensation, was by using a receptive, obedient, and deprogrammed mind to receive the instruction and do the manual work for me. These letters offer the only true means by which people will find the path to the spiritual dimension, in which all human error fades away and only love remains. Anything else which may be said is purely human rationalization and reason, and these are not truth. People are seeking new ways to resolve old problems, particularly in America. But until they understand the true nature of life, the ego, and the laws of existence, they will but strengthen the pull of the ego, and their pain will continue. Remember, as I record for you in the following pages, the simple truth I spoke 2 millennia ago, this truth remains constant and consistent. Therefore, it is only possible to deepen your understanding of truth, not to alter it. Have you realized, as you have read the first 2 letters, that all I spoke to the people of Palestine was a direct outcome of my having perceived the reality of existence in the desert, that nothing is solid? Have you remembered that in my transcendent state, as I looked at the rocks, sand, mountains, water below me in the Dead Sea, all appeared to be as a shimmer of motes? Rock, sand, mountains, water were differentiated one from the other only by the difference in the intensity of the shimmer of motes, and by the apparent density of motes within the shimmer. There is no other way I can describe what I saw when on earth, or convey the facts concerning the true substance of matter and the apparently solid fabric and construction of your world. In modern speech, you would probably call the shimmer of motes a vibration of particles. Perhaps you could combine the 2 terms and describe the most fundamental visible reality as a shimmer of particles. This conveys the sense of the light glow in which I saw the particles dance. Having said all the foregoing as introduction to my account of my activities in Palestine, let me take you to another day 2,000 years ago, when the sun shone and the sky was a clear, clear blue, and I started to climb the hills with my disciples in an effort to retire, to rest, meditate, and pray. But this was not to be. We had thought to escape, but despite telling the people of our intentions, we were first followed by a few, who then shouted to others that we were going into the hills. Although we begged them to return to their homes, the few eventually grew into a great concourse of people tagging along behind us. They were insistent that I should speak to them. You may wonder why they were so anxious to listen to me. Intuitively, they knew that I spoke words of life to them. always, I showed them the activity of the Father around them, and this gave them hope and helped them to see the world with new vision. I spoke to them of love, and they felt comforted. This was why I could say to them, knowing that they would understand and agree with me, "Come unto me, you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. My yoke is light and my burden easy." They knew that when I spoke these words, as I frequently did, I was comparing the rules and laws of the Jewish leaders with the truth I was presenting to the people. So it was that when I was besought by the people to teach them, what could I do but sit down on a rock above them and teach? I was determined that if they had come this far to hear me, they would hear something they would remember and possibly speak about all their lives. I knew that despite all I had told them about the Father and Father love, they were still apprehensive of rejection by God. Although I had tried to help them understand that the Father of which I spoke was not the personalized God which they worshipped, I knew very well that they were confused. Although I had told them again and again that the Father was within them, they were still worried that they might incur punishment from on high by believing my words. What should I teach them that day? I asked the Father. Then I noticed the goats and sheep feeding on the hillside under the vigilant care of their shepherd, and my message for the day entered my mind. I stood up and shouted so that my voice would carry to the back of the crowds. "You see these sheep and goats feeding on the hills. The sheep are in one place and the goats in another. Consider the sheep. They are patient and non-aggressive towards each other, even when huddled tightly in a corner of their pen. They feed quietly, never claiming ground which is not theirs, leaving the pasture closely cropped but not damaged, allowing the grass to recover after they have passed over it. Most importantly, they listen to their shepherd's voice. Therefore, he takes good care of them. He guides them into the best pastures, and he sleeps with them at night, that they may not be threatened or attacked by dogs or robbers. Look at the goats, how they scramble and leap over the rocks and get themselves into awkward or dangerous places. They tear at the brambles and the foliage of trees. They are despoilers. Were it not for their use to mankind, there would be no place for them other than to be tethered all day or put out into the desert. I look at you below me, and I know that amongst you are many sheep, and also among you are many goats." There were a few angry murmurs, but on the whole, people good-naturedly jostled and ribbed one another, pointing out the goats and laughing and nodding. It was good to see them laughing, and so I continued. You can tell the sheep by their homes, the way they treat their neighbors, and the way they are regarded by all in their community. You can likewise tell the goats. Are they likely to have many friends? There was a loud roar from the crowd. "No!" followed by much laughter. Does the shepherd follow after the goats and care for them, or must they look after themselves and come home by themselves to be milked at night? Again the crowd laughed and shouted various replies, some of them very amusing and witty. "And so is it with you who are sheep and those of you who are goats. You are protected by the Father if you are sheep, and you are not protected by the Father if you are goats, because you are obstinately following your own desires every day, and possibly leaving a trail of destruction behind you. Tell me, can the Father protect the people who are goats?" The crowd was silent, but listening intently. "Will you say then that the Father is angry with the goats and will not protect them? Or will you rather say that just as the shepherd cares for his sheep and would care for the goats if they would allow it, the Father loves sheep and goats equally, but is powerless to protect equally because of the goats' natural behavior? Also, consider the feeding habits of sheep and goats. Sheep are content to eat grass only, for which their stomachs are perfectly designed. But the goat will eat anything he comes across, having no respect whatever for his constitution. So is it with people who have no regard for what they will feed their minds with, since they have no fixed goal or clear purpose. Like goats, they do not recognize when mental food is harmful, or is taking them in the direction they should not go in their daily lives, or whether it will lead them into harmful myth or dangerous fallacy. They roam, picking up the mental equivalent of brambles, old shoes, bits of cloth, leaves, thistles, weeds, for they lack good sense. A man called out to me, "Master, what if a person who is a sheep makes a mistake and gets himself into trouble? Will the father then abandon him?" I asked him a question by way of answering him. What does the shepherd do when one of his sheep falls into a pit, or tumbles over a cliff, or gets caught in brambles? I will tell you. The shepherd leaves his flock and swiftly seeks out the missing sheep, and will not leave it until he has brought it home safely. So is it with the Father. Not even a sheep can avoid doing wrong in one way or another, but rest assured that the Father immediately responds to its bleating and rescues it. And if a goat should begin to behave like a sheep and heed the shepherd's voice, then he too will come under the protection of the shepherd and will be cared for, even as a sheep is cared for. So it is with you and the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God. Several voices called out, asking me to tell them what I meant by the kingdom of God. What I am telling you is unlike anything you have yet heard from any prophet at any time. Do not try to understand what I am saying by thinking of what you have been told by your teachers. They can only repeat from the scriptures and have no personal knowledge of the kingdom of God or heaven. God is not contained within any one place, but is everywhere, as are the heavens and air above you. The Holy Word spoke truly when it says, "In God you live, move, and have your being." For the kingdom of God is above, around, and also within you, and you can enter the kingdom of God. People shouted impatiently, "But what is it?" It is a state of mind and heart which is fully possessed by God, your Father. When you are in this state, the Father is the head of your body and directs everything you do and all of your life. Some of the other people grumbled, "How can that be?" It is possible to be so emptied of self, of selfish desires, enmities, angers, jealousies, greed, vindictiveness, that only God is left in control within your mind and heart. "What happens then?" asked a woman. "Then you enter into the state of being which is God directed. It is altogether beautiful and glorious. It is love, it is generosity, it is caring for other people as you care for yourself. It is non-judgmental, since you accept other people exactly as they are, knowing that they too are God's children and are equally in the Father care. It is happiness beyond measure, beyond description. It is joy in the beauty of the world. It is life unlimited and increased energy. It is health, and it is the fulfillment of your every need before you even know that you have such a need. Why do the rabbis not tell us these things?" Several voices complained. "Because I alone have seen the Father. I alone know how the world has been made and the laws of existence. And because I know all these things, you have but to come to me and ask, and I will reveal all that was given to me. I tell you truly, as many of you as believes and understands and seeks to put my words into daily practice will be saved from the tribulation that mankind endures. You suffer because you do not understand how you have been created and the true purposes for which you were born. You were born to be sons and heirs of the Father. You were born to enjoy all that the Father is in itself and all that it can give you, but you turn your backs on all the glory of the kingdom and try to find pleasures in earthly things. Whilst you do this, you will never find the kingdom of God, nor enter into the kingdom of heaven." Okay, we're going to stop right there, and in the next video, we will continue with his sermon to the people that followed him up to the hills. And I apologize. It's not easy to break in the midst of a story, but these videos have been 25 to 35 minutes long. And while I would love to keep reading this to you, there's, like I said, there's no good break. There's no end to a story. So I will remind you where we left off when I come back and make my next video. Let's put my bookmark in here. Thank you all so very much for joining me. I love you all so much, and I will see you again for the second section of letter 3 in the Christ letters. Take care of yourself. Take care of those around you until I see you again. Bye-bye.